beginning the sit by relaxing into a posture that is upright and alert and relaxed. Relaxing the body helps us to connect the attention with the physical experience of sitting here in this posture. The more we relax our bodies, the greater the intimacy is of our connection with it. And the greater intimacy there is with the body, the more we're able to feel it. Notice even subtler areas of holding, letting them release and soften. You might feel into this mutually supportive relationship between relaxing the body and feeling the body, how they both support one another. And it's helpful to start out with a very conscious somatic connection with the body in this way, so that when we invite the experience of our anchor to come to the foreground, we're not just thinking about it, that we are connecting directly with an experience in our body, something we can point to, a sensation, and say, there's the in-breath. There's the sensations of hands touching, etc. So it's not the thought of our meditation object that keeps us present and builds samadhi. It's the direct physical connection with it. So we just check and see, are we connected somatically? And remembering it's not a chore. These sensations that we're connecting to are happening on their own. The mind's nature is to be aware, to know. So there's just this very gentlest of intentions or invitation for the object. Sensations of body, sensations of breath. Maybe some of you were working with hearing. It's the gentlest invitation for that to be known. And for the moments that that object is known, we're present, we're here. And we're getting more accustomed to being here. The ability to be present is deepening, strengthening. But without trying, can we just relax and let go completely into the present moment? No doing, no so that. Watch for the so that mind. I'll be present so that something will happen. we're here, present, aided by, tethered by our anchor. And we know our experience of the anchor, other experiences coming and going, outer experiences of the five sense doors, inner experiences of the sixth sense door, the heart and mind. And today we're going to look at the second foundation of mindfulness in the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha's instructions for how to meditate. So we notice what's arising, and with the second foundation of mindfulness, we notice something about it. And what we notice, whatever it is how does that feel to us? How does that impact us? Does it feel pleasant? Listen to this sound and see. I mean, I'm assuming it'll be pleasant, but maybe not. It's always different for everyone. Now listen to this sound. See if it's pleasant or unpleasant. So we can get a sense of how these objects feel to us. Sometimes they're neither. Sometimes it's not pleasant or unpleasant. It's just kind of in between. Again, I just use the example of sounds, but even our meditation object, the breath of the body, we can work with that. Any other body sensations, other sounds, thoughts, moods, emotions. Why is this important? There's two reasons. The first is that it brings us closer to our experience. We have to be with it, stay with it just a little bit. We have to really be connected to it fully in order to sense, feel, how does this feel to me? Is it pleasant, unpleasant, or neither? So it draws us closer to our experience. It allows us, encourages us to be more intimate with our experience, which is what this whole practice is about. And the second reason it's important, and the most important one, is that when we are not aware, when we are not mindful of the arising of pleasant, unpleasant, or neither feelings, which are happening all the time, by the way. Each sense contact, every moment, is carrying with it a pleasant, unpleasant, or neither pleasant or unpleasant feeling to it. So it's always happening. When we're not aware of it, the habit pattern, the tendency in our minds will be towards aversion if it's unpleasant, towards grasping and wanting if it's pleasant, and towards not noticing, spacing out, not connecting to the experience if it's neutral. And I mentioned that on the second watch of the night, the Buddha woke up to that. The way suffering continues to go onward, dependent origination of suffering, that whole cycle really hinges upon this moment of contact and pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. When we're not mindful, that contact leads to some form of craving, some form of wanting, not wanting, spacing out. When we are mindful, we can notice an unpleasant sensation or sound or thought, and it can just be that. We can just see the cobra. Oh, unpleasant sound is like this. It's like this now. And we don't pick it up. There's enough steadiness, there's enough samadhi in that moment just to notice it. Let it be, let it come, let it go, and not go into aversion. In that moment we break the cycle of suffering. We break that whole chain of dependent origination. Not forever, but in that moment it's broken. Similarly for pleasant sensations or objects. So we use our anchor as much as needed to be present. And then the important part is not to make a chore out of this. Not to get into a lot of doing, a lot of thinking. Can't tell, was that pleasant or unpleasant? Oh, I don't know. Which one was it? It's just a hit. It's just that initial hit. Oh, and it will be clear, oh, that was pleasant, or oh, that was unpleasant. And if we don't get a hit either way, then it's neutral. And you don't have to try to do this with every single thing that you notice. Maybe just notice the big ones. When the cooling system turns on, when the train whistle goes, when the body starts to make itself known, the stronger thoughts that catch our attention. Don't feel like you have to figure out every single moment whether it's pleasant or unpleasant or neutral. It's a very interesting and important part of the practice. So we're already doing 3/4 of it. Getting ourselves present, noticing what's arising. There, that's almost all of it. And then just that little bit extra. How does that feel? And the way we know is not of the intellect, it's not words, it's just an impression. Sitting at breakfast when the sun came over the trees and the warmth landed on the skin, how did that feel? That was pleasant. You don't need words to tell you that. In the moment, you could feel it pleasant. if you find yourself getting kind of caught up, tight, striving, let it go. Go back to the simplicity of just knowing objects as they arise, or the simplicity of just being with your anchor. And don't forget to enjoy moments of just resting in the present moment. Nothing to do, nowhere to go. Just this, just now. The contentment, the utter contentment of that. interesting way to practice with pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral is to bring our attention to those aches and pains in the body. When we look at that pain in the knee pain, that concept, and we look and feel it, clearly it feels unpleasant. Go into it though, bring your attention to it, go right into it, get closer to it, more intimate with it. Go underneath the concept of knee pain to the direct experience of this crackling, shimmering, vibrating, many, many, many points of sensation coming and going very quickly. Are they all unpleasant? Or are some of them unpleasant? And are they staying the same? Look and see what's actually happening and how it's actually feeling to you. Get close enough to it so that you can see. The thousands of momentary arising and passings of sensation. You can't feel all of them. There's too many, it's too quick. But you can feel some of them, and you can notice, are they pleasant, unpleasant, or neither? was the sound of the bell? Did you notice it as pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral? It's kind of pleasant to me. And just to say too, with pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, I didn't want to talk too much. It could be a whole Dharma talk. But it's not something we have control over. So it's not something that you're trying to change or alter in any way. You're just noticing it. When contact happens, the pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral experience will arise with it. It's automatic. It's just nothing we can do about it. Nothing we need to do about it except notice it. So just to know that we're not trying to change it in any way. How is the body right now? Pleasant, unpleasant, neutral? This is part of that sankhara dukkha, this being contacted over, and we can't control whether it's going to be pleasant or unpleasant or neutral. It's unreliable. That's sankhara dukkha. It's unreliable. Things are unreliable in terms of making us happy. We're looking for the happiness that is reliable, that is unshakable. The arisings of things don't touch it, regardless of whether they're pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. That sounds pretty good, doesn't it? We can get on board with that. Any questions about your practice this morning? Yes. Yeah, yeah. So what you're pointing to, and another reason that's good to practice with this, with the feeling tone, is things change. That's what I was pointing to with looking at aches and pains in your body. It's not a static thing. It's changing. First it's pleasant, then it's unpleasant. Or vice versa. Or then it goes to neutral. Yeah. Yeah, it's really helpful in supporting us to see change when we connect with the feeling tone, because it is changing. Good. That shows you were connected to your experience. I noticed first it was pleasant, and then I noticed there were thoughts about it that were unpleasant. You're tracking your experience. Sure. Anything.
It's not on. The place where it might be easiest to work is in the clinging. That place where we can see the holding on we begin to see, as we look at it, we begin to see the choice there. There's a story maybe I have about myself, a particular view I have about this experience, or this body sensation, this relationship. We begin to see that we're holding on there. This is how I see that person, and I'm not even willing to inquire. And so we can begin to see that place and begin to soften it, release, let go. So when I was in the meditation hall and wanting that safety and security and pleasantness of my own cushion, just to see that and to begin to see where the story feeds it. It's what I call my "and furthermore" speech. Where we're sort of, we leave the hall and then we kind of go, this shouldn't be happening, and I was there first and it's really my cushion, and furthermore, and furthermore, and we all know those and furthermore speeches, and so we can say, oh, that's just feeding the suffering. I could stop telling myself that story. It's not helping anything. It's not leading to the end of suffering. So that place where it's sort of most accessible, maybe a little more accessible, I don't know about most, but a little more accessible is right at that step of the dependent origination that is the clinging. Does that? Yeah. Well, could we have a show of hands?
Yes. Someone put up 2 hands. That's great.
Maxine, you are in good company. Yes, indeed. But isn't that beautiful to see that? It's like, there's a path. I don't have to be caught here. There's something available here. I can inquire here. I can investigate. I can choose to relate to this experience in a different way. Isn't that awesome? Yeah. Either of you want to add something?
Just one little piece to that. Whether we're grasping or pushing away, there's a quality of stickiness. And so that's that moment when we recognize stickiness. We might be thrashing to get rid of something that's unpleasant, thrashing around, exhausting ourselves. Or we might be holding on really tight to something that we find pleasant. But there's a sticky quality to it. It's not a flow. And so, as Sharon and Chas were saying, that's the moment of possible freedom right there. But we have to recognize this has gotten sticky.
I think this is another good moment for hands. So, yes. So remember the Four Noble Truths and what we are to do with them. Dukkha must be experienced. It must be understood. I can hear it in your the incessantness of that. Feel even as you're talking. The incessantness, the agitation, and the continuing to reach. You can feel that. You can tune into that. Insatiable, addictive.
Yeah, for sure you were grokking the suffering involved in this. And we've all been sitting here for a number of days and our hearts are opening. There's a lot of wholesome desires for action, activities in the world, activities and relationships that we're involved in. So these insights are starting to pop in different ways. Oh, I understand this. My intention is to do this. Oh, and I also understand this better. My intention is to do this. So it's interesting. It's complex, and we can be enthusiastic, our hearts open, and the mind's still all over the place. So it's a bit of a challenge, especially this time of a retreat, to recognize how valuable this remaining time is that we have. I like to use the phrase low-hanging fruit, if it's possible. Recognizing, and Helen, you're recognizing the suffering, you're recognizing the enthusiasm and the new understandings that are happening. And is it possible for us to practice in the midst of that, recognizing those energies, the wholesomeness of a lot of those ideas and the opening of the heart, and then the kind of overcooking, so to speak, of the mind. Thomas Merton talks about it. But somewhere there's a phrase where he talks about just all the ideas and things to do and wonderful, projects and things that we can get involved in becomes violent to the self and creates a lot of suffering. Mm-hmm. And there are lots of beautiful ideas and understandings that pop and kind of drive us out of the silent pool of wisdom of which these things are coming out of. Isn't that interesting?
I had a really good instruction one time when I was on retreat, precisely with this, it could be the joyful, the jubilant, the wonderful ideas and insights, and the mind starts going. And my teacher said, don't squander away that energy. He said, it's like a business. If you have profit, don't spend it. Reinvest it back into the company. He said, take that energy and reinvest it back into being present. Take the energy that's being lost with the going-ons and ons about these wonderful things, and turn that energy back to connecting with the object, to being present. It will really help and deepen your practice.
And Chas, you said something the other day that I found really helpful that might be relevant here as well, which is when we find ourselves going off, to let the investigation look and see why. What's arising that's hard to be with. So all of what we're saying, but there might be some quality. There might be some quality of delight, that's arising. That's hard to really make space for. So, one other possibility. I found that a really helpful thought.
time for walking, and this is our last full day of being on retreat together, and as Pat was saying, you do have momentum. You have a lot of momentum of these days of practice. Let that carry you today. It's like being in a river. Let that river carry you. Don't climb out of the river onto the shore bank. Stay in the river, meaning stay with the rhythms I was talking about. Just let those rhythms carry you. Time to sit, time to walk, time to be still in the sun, time to go eat. Let the rhythms carry you today. It's really a wonderful day of a retreat this day. And also, as you're saying, today the mind will naturally be more inclined to go into the future. And that's all right. We can't help it. We can't stop it. And we can know it. And we can know and work with it just in the way that we've been talking about these last few minutes. So not to see it as a problem, but something to notice. Yes? Well, you'll get that information a little later. But for now, yeah. That's great. Yes, you can feel it. You can feel it. Yes. Yes, it's all right. Another gorgeous day for us to practice and enjoy.